Dzisiejsza rozmowa powstała dzięki uprzejmości i kontaktom gdańskiego wydawnictwa psychologicznego, które jest wydawcą książki Russema Harrisema Zderzenie z rzeczywistością, jak przetrwać bolesne ciosy od życia i się po nich podnieść. To jest najlepsza książka samopomocowa, którą przeczytałam w 2022 roku. Mówię to z pełną odpowiedzialnością. Mamy rok 2023. Ci z Was, którzy jeszcze jej nie przeczytali, macie szansę godnie zacząć ten rok. Brakowało mi na polskim rynku wydawniczym książek z perspektywy środka. Książek, które nie mówią o tym, jak osiągnąć wieczne szczęście w 7 dni, albo jak nas przewodzić przez różne meandry życia. Ta książka pokazuje, że życie bywa piękne, potrafi nas przytulić do serduszka i ukochać najwspanialszymi doświadczeniami, ale potrafi nam także zadać potężne ciosy, po których trudno jest nam się pozbierać i to wszystko wpisuje się w doświadczanie życia. Niech pierwszy rzuci komentarzem ten, którego jeszcze nigdy w życiu nie spotkało nic trudnego. Ta całość doświadczania pozwala nam to życie przeżywać w pełni. A myślę sobie, że jeżeli o coś w życiu chodzi, to o tę pełnię właśnie. Ja nazywam się Joanna Gutral, jestem psycholożką, psychoterapeutką poznawczo-behawioralną, psychoedukatorką i podcasterką, a to jest mój podcast, w którym gadam, bo to kolejny odcinek podcastu Gutral Gada, w którym goszczę nikogo innego jak autora książki Zderzenie z rzeczywistością Russema Harrisema, psychologa, neuronaukowca, lekarza, a także nauczyciela, powiedziałabym wręcz, że mistrza terapii, akceptacji i zaangażowania. To jest naprawdę bardzo dobra książka. GWP, raz jeszcze serdecznie Wam dziękuję za patronat nad tym odcinkiem, i gratuluję wyborów wydawniczych. Robicie to dobrze, nie przestawajcie. A Was zapraszam do wysłuchania tego odcinka. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Russ Harris is with us. Hi, good to see you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. So first part, it's going to be all good things about your book, because I need to admit that this is the best book I read last year that was published in Polish in Poland, because what I was really missing as a psychologist, psychotherapist working with patients would be a book that kind of give you a perspective of life being difficult sometimes, and this is a normal thing. So we have a lot of those books saying how to be better version of yourself in 10 steps, or achieve happiness in a week, or whatever. There is thousands of books like that. And I was kind of confused, thinking, why do we need to give people advices how to achieve happiness in 7 days, and then build these expectations that once they achieve a happiness, it's going to stay with them forever? And I felt like we as professionals, we as the world, are kind of building this intolerance for uncertainty and all sort of discomfort, which I found a problem, especially observing other people and what I am struggling with in my psychotherapy practice. And then your book came, and I was like, yes, finally. And I was reading it like crazy, like this is what I'm going to recommend to people. So thank you for that. And now for the people who didn't read your book, I would like to talk about it a little bit. What was your thinking process behind writing this book? Why did you decide to write this book? And because the title is kind of brutal, reality slap.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. What's the title in Polish? How do you say it?
Zderzenie z rzeczywistością.
And is that direct translation, the reality slap?
It's not very direct translation, although, it's pretty accurate, I must say.
Okay. Well, I mean, the main reason I wrote it is because there's a huge need for it. I mean, life is difficult. We're all going to experience setbacks and failures and losses. We're all going to experience grief and pain in many different forms. And really, just as you were saying, that there's the common sense, everyday popular idea is that you can just think positively and get yourself feeling happy and move on from these things, and life's going to be all joyful, and there's just some simple tricks and strategies, and you can just escape all this pain and live in bliss. And that's just setting people up for misery. It's setting people up for a struggle with reality. It's not like that. When really big, difficult things happen in your life, when a relationship breaks up, when you lose your job, when you're in financial difficulties, when you get a serious illness, when your whole country gets locked down because of COVID, there's lots of painful thoughts and feelings that we really need to learn how to deal with. And you can't just kind of click your fingers and do a few simple techniques and expect to feel happy. So I really felt that I needed to give people a realistic way of dealing with the inevitable pain of life.
Well, I must say that the title might not be encouraging if someone read all those books about being happy before finding your book, because I feel like we very often treat some, I would say, normative difficulties in life as something that should not happen in my life. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when I am struggling with something, or my parents are getting old and I have mixed feelings about it, it's difficult for me, or as you said, I have some challenges at work, or my relationship is not going great, we treat those moments as something's not okay with me. And I think it's boosted by social media, because we see all those perfect pictures that everybody is doing great and they have just moments, the best moments of their life. And I am sitting here looking at that thinking, oh my God, what did I do wrong with my life? Take it away from me. And when the patient comes to my office and they are describing all those difficult things in their life and they said that they feel sad, I was like, well, that's a good reaction to what's happening in your life. And they are pretty shocked, looking at me as I'm crazy and if I'm doing my job right, like, oh no, it's not okay. I should not feel sad. What do you say to people who are struggling with difficulties and don't want to not even admit that, but get through it?
Well, kind of as you say, it's like sadness is a normal human feeling. So is anger, so is fear, so is anxiety and guilt. And, I often say if you're going to live a full human life, you're going to feel the full range of human emotions, not just the ones that feel pleasant. But the problem is, certainly in Western cultures, we're told, these painful emotions, we call them negative emotions. And we're told there's something wrong with us if we're feeling this way. I mean, a generation ago when people were feeling sad, they would say, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling down, or I'm feeling under the weather. But now they say, I'm depressed. I remember I got such a shock when my 9-year-old son came home from school and he said, I'm really depressed, Dad. I'm like, what? He was 9. What had happened was his favorite toy. There was a big craze here for these toys called fidget spinners. And he'd been playing with it in class and the teacher had taken it off him. And he was upset about that. But he came home and he said, I'm depressed. So there's this cultural shift that's happening all around the Western world, where normal emotions are basically being demonized. We're being told there's something wrong with us if we feel this way. The message is, don't worry, be happy, think positive, feel good. And as you say, social media is really feeding this. Someone recently said to me that rather than Facebook, they should call it Falsebook. Because what do you see when people go on holiday? All you see is their best photographs of the best stuff that happened. You don't see the photograph of the argument that happened, or the frustration because the taps aren't working, or the the boredom of your 3-year-old son who wants to do something else. No one puts that on social media. So and of course it's advertising too. The advertising industry paints these pictures of just how wonderful your life will be if you just buy our product or do our service or go on our holiday, you know, whether that's clothes, whether that's cosmetic surgery, whether it's the latest diet, whether, you know, we're bombarded by these images of this is how I can be happy, this is how I can have a great life. And again, it sets us up to struggle with the reality of a normal human life. We can live a rich, full, and meaningful life, and that's not a life where you only have good, pleasant feelings. The things that make life really meaningful also come with lots of pain. I mean, if you think about relationships with people are fundamental to building a rich and meaningful life, and all relationships come with pain. It doesn't matter how great your relationship is. You know, I've asked about at least 10,000 people now in various workshops and audiences. I said, put your hand up if there's anybody in this room that is in a close, intimate relationship that only gives rise to pleasant feelings. And not a hand goes up. I mean, you know, even dogs are much easier to live with than humans, but even dogs will push your buttons and generate, you know, unpleasant, uncomfortable feelings at times. And so, you know, of course we all want to feel good. And of course, none of us want to have unpleasant feelings, but that's just unrealistic. And the problem is we don't grow up learning how to handle effectively the inevitable painful emotions that life brings. We just try to fight with them, struggle with them, run away from them, suppress them, push them down. And unfortunately, all of these kind of common sense ways of responding to pain, actually, the research is very clear that trying to escape, avoid, suppress, fight, get away from unwanted painful emotions actually has a rebound effect that leads to them increasing, coming back with greater and greater frequency and intensity. And so most people get caught up in this kind of paradoxical struggle. The more pain they feel, the harder they try to run away from the pain or squash it down or fight it off. And paradoxically, that just makes it bigger and more powerful and gives it even more impact in their life.
I must admit to something. When I was in high school, I thought, okay, I need to graduate that. Then I will go to college and I need to graduate. And then my life is going to be perfect, because no one will be steering it. I will be on my own. I will make decisions by myself. No more struggles. Everything's going to be fine. Now when I'm thinking about this, 16, 17 years old me, I was like, what were you thinking about? You had no idea what's happening after you graduate college. When you don't have that path, you know that you need to follow, and then you need to make decisions on your own. But after that, I realized that maybe it's not only that the reality is slapping us, but the reality we created is created in a way that it's not really helpful, because all those external factors that are showing us how the life should be are kind of in a contradiction to what life really is. What do you think about it?
Absolutely. I remember the same thing happened to me. I left school, I got good grades, I got into medical school, I graduated as a doctor when I was very young. And, I was like, okay, I've ticked all the boxes, I've done what society tells me to do, here I am. And I was depressed, I was miserable, I was racked with anxiety. And I felt cheated. I thought, I've bought into these ideas. This is the way to have a great life, and it hasn't worked, And so I think there's cultural ideas about how to have a good life. And then there's, as you say, social media, there's advertising. There's no way to really escape it, really. We're just so bombarded by these ideas of what a great life is and what happiness is, and these popular notions about how to achieve happiness and how to achieve that good life. They set us up. If we hold on too tightly to those ideas, we end up miserable. We really do.
So we are in a pretty rough spot at this point, because reality is slapping people, but the reality we created is slapping even more, because this is unrealistic reality. And we also have this inner voices in our head that very often comes from our parents, significant people we met on the way, and very often they are saying what you're feeling and what you're struggling with is not right, and it says something about you. So it can cause a real storm inside that might be not visible from the outside, but we struggle with it, we feel it, it's taking us down, we don't know what to do with it, so we are trying to avoid it, push it somewhere, like just take it away from me. What would you recommend to people who are in a moment like that and maybe are listening to this podcast and they want to build the hope that they have as sources and ability to deal with it?
Well, the first thing I would say is you're normal, okay? That's not a sign of weakness or being defective. It's not a sign of mental illness. It's a normal human experience at times to feel that life is very hard, that your feelings are overwhelming. It's normal to have self-judgmental or self-critical thoughts. And so that's the first thing, because if you have all of that and then you start judging yourself as weak or stupid or abnormal, then you just make everything worse. And then the second thing I would say is that there are some simple skills that you can learn that can change that. And these are not skills to put you in a state of bliss and happiness and, perpetual joy. That's just completely unrealistic. But there are really practical skills you can use to take the power and impact out of painful emotions, to learn how to let them flow through you without bringing you down or holding you back. You can learn the same sorts of skills for dealing with negative thoughts when your mind is judging you, criticizing you, telling you the I'm not good enough story. You can't stop your mind from generating that kind of thought, but you can learn skills to take the power and impact out of it so that when these stories show up inside your head, they don't have to jerk you around and rule your life and bring you down. And these skills can be learned very quickly and really used by anybody. But they don't come naturally. That's the thing. They're not common sense skills, and you're not likely to find them in those books about feeling happy in 7 days. For most of us, these skills require a big paradigm shift, a whole different way of dealing with our thoughts and feelings.
Which takes ups and downs, because we often think that, reading one book will give us the right tools and they're going to work out immediately, which means I read the book and I'm good to go. People don't usually predict that practicing gets up and down. Sometimes something works, sometimes it didn't work, and we got trapped by our negative thoughts. But I wanted to ask you about one thing that I observed by working with my students and, being present in social media. It's called trigger warning. I don't know if you heard about trigger warning. You put sometimes before you, announce something or present some pictures or talk about something. And at the beginning, I was like, okay, well, it's a new trend. I'm not fully understanding why, but okay, let's see how it goes. And then I realized that trigger warning is put in front of everything. One of my students came to my classes, and I'm teaching social psychology, and said that, I should put trigger warning in, before my classes, because the topics we are talking about are very unpleasant, and they would like to have a choice if they are attending the class or not. And then I was like, okay, we are doing something wrong here, because life is not going to put a trigger warning every time something difficult is going to happen to you. And by using trigger warning, we are building this avoidance and not giving ourselves a chance to deal with unpleasant and difficult situations. Is your book, and I believe that a lot of people have fear. If something bad gonna happen to me, I am not able to deal with that. That's why they are avoiding. So what's in your book, if there's anything in your book, that's gonna be a starting point for people to build up their resilience, to build up the skills that gonna help you struggle with difficulties in life?
Well, the trigger warning thing is just got ridiculous. It's and I think it actually increases people's anxiety. It's like, oh no, something bad is going to happen, something bad is going to be said. Especially with psychology students. I mean, you're going to be talking about really difficult stuff when you're dealing with human psychology. So do you really need a trigger warning? But I think what it speaks to is that people are afraid of their own emotions. People are afraid of fear and sadness and anger and guilt. And the problem is that when we're afraid of something, we normally try to escape or avoid it. And so if I can introduce a technical term, experiential avoidance, this basically is the ongoing attempt to avoid or escape unwanted emotions and thoughts and feelings. And everyone's experientially avoidant to some degree. I mean, you, me, everyone. I don't know anybody who just loves having painful thoughts and feelings and emotions and wants more of them. So we all try to avoid them a little bit. And a little bit of avoidance isn't a problem. But what the research shows is that high levels of experiential avoidance are actually directly correlated with your risk of depression, anxiety disorder, addiction, long-term disability from any type of illness or injury, and a whole range of mental health disorders are actually correlated with experiential avoidance. So not with the emotions, not with the thoughts and feelings, but with this attitude of trying to escape and avoid them. And so that would be the first thing that I would want people to get, is that the more you start trying to avoid and escape these normal emotions and thoughts, actually, they're just going to get bigger and bigger, scarier and scarier, and have more and more negative impact. So the second step after recognizing that is to stop running away from them. Let's look at doing something different. Let's look at a different way of responding to them that's totally different from everything else that you've ever done. I mean, it really is. We've tried, I'm sure all of us have tried putting substances into our body, whether that's drugs or alcohol or chocolate or chips or pizza. We've all tried avoiding difficult situations to try to escape the painful feelings that go with them. We've all tried procrastinating on things or putting things off. We've all tried distracting ourselves from our feelings, whether that's through social media or watching movies or computer games. We've all got loads of ways of distracting ourselves. We've all tried to think our pain away. We've got lots of different thinking strategies, that we use to try to make ourselves feel better. And, these things do work a little bit, quite a lot of the time, but they don't work very well and they don't work for long. And the more we rely on these methods, the more we're actually going to find that these kind of difficult emotions are going to, that rebound effect I was talking about earlier, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So we need to find something that's completely different from fighting with these feelings or running away from them.
And there is a whole chapter talking about values and meaning in life in your book. And I am almost 32 right now. And I realized that values and the things that are meaningful are changing as we grow up. And there is this moment, longer or shorter, when you are confused and you have absolutely no idea what is meaningful in life for you right now. So the old values are kind of losing the importance, but the new ones are not there yet. And you feel this confusion and not really know where you want to take your life to. And why do we need values and meaning in life that are our own, not the ones that are, presented by the external world?
Well, so first, just if I can define values, because there's different meanings of the term, but the books that I write are all based on a psychological model called acceptance and commitment therapy. And this is a science-based approach. There's over 3,000 published scientific studies on this model of therapy. And in this model, we define values as basically your heart's deepest desires for how you want to behave as a human being, how you want to treat yourself, how you want to treat others, how you want to treat the world around you. So it's really about getting in touch with, what I want to stand for as a human being, basically how I want to treat anyone or anything that I'm interacting with. And they're important for a number of different reasons. One is, living your values actually gives you a sense of meaning and purpose. For example, if your values are being kind, being loving, being supportive, then every time you act in line with those values, every time you're a little bit loving or caring or supportive, there'll be a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment from that. And certainly in Western countries, there's a big emphasis on goals. The way to have a good life is to set goals and achieve goals. And the goal-focused life is a life of is misery too. It's like all about, I'm under pressure, constantly striving to achieve this goal. A lot of the time I won't achieve it, and so I'm miserable. But even if I do achieve it, there's this little moment of joy, and then there's the next goal, and then the one after that. Whereas the values-focused life, we still have goals. I mean, goals are useful, but it's not all about achieving the goal. It's about how do I live the values from moment to moment throughout the day. If my goal is to be a doctor, then that's at least 5 years at medical school before I get to achieve that goal. But if my values are being helpful and kind, well, I can live those values right now. I don't have to wait till I'm a doctor. I can be helpful and kind in 1,000 different ways, on a day-to-day basis. So they fill life with a sense of meaning. They give a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. And they give us a sense, when we live our values, they give us a sense of being true to ourselves, more in touch with who we want to be. And so I think you raised another very important point there. Very often we're given values by our parents or by our religion or by our workplace. And it's very important that we find our own values. What do I want to be about, so that I can really be authentic, be myself, be my true self?
Well, if we will ask people, what are your values, or do you want to be a kind person? I believe that everyone would declare, oh, of course, I would like to be a kind person. Everyone would love to be a kind person. How we are finding what our true values are? I'm just trying to find a hint where to start this journey, because I don't believe that once you sit, you think, you find it. It's more like a journey exploring where my values are.
That's a good point. Well, I think I usually start by asking people to remember a time, bring to mind a memory where you were with somebody that you really care about and doing something with that person that was really meaningful or enjoyable or fulfilling. And just remember what it was like spending time with that person that you really love or really care about. And I'll get them to tell me a little bit about that. And then I'll say, so tell me, how were you treating the other person? Like, were you bored, disinterested, or were you attentive and present? Were you kind of being hostile, negative, cruel, unkind to them? Or were you being loving, playful, kind? Were you pushing them away, trying to get away from them? Or were you, moving towards them, engaging with them? Let's have a look at how you were treating the other person in that memory. And then, can you put some words to those qualities about how you were treating the other person? Were you being, loving or playful or adventurous or, curious or open or present or attentive? What are the words you'd use to describe your behavior? And that usually, those words are usually your core values. It's like, if I ask you the question, is this how you want to treat other people that you love, how you care? And if your answer to that is yes, well, you've hit on your values there. I mean, there's lots of other ways of getting at them, but I find that's a particularly useful one. Another useful question also is to someone that you look up to. There's someone that you admire or respect or look up to. It may be someone in your family or at your school, or it may be someone you know on television, or it may even be a fictional character in a book or a movie, or a historical character. what is it that you admire about that person? More specifically, how does that person treat other people? And what do you like about the way this person treats others and treats the world around them?
What was my personal game changer a long time ago, I believe it was like 10 years ago, I attended a lecture led by Kelly Wilson, who was talking about the values and how they help struggling with an addiction. Does the certain behavior support my value or not? Is it helping me achieve what's important for me, or it's kind of standing against it? And very often when I introduce this way of thinking to people, they found it very helpful with the problems they were struggling for a long, long time and nothing worked. Like, no diet, no sort of pills to quit smoking or whatever. It was not working. And then when they started thinking about it as the value, like support my health or change my lifestyle so I can be with my children or grandchildren more, or be more active, present in their life. They said that it was helpful. So do you believe that reorganizing your life in a way that you believe the reality slap gonna happen and I have a power, I have a sources to deal with it, is a game changer?
I do think it is a game changer, yes. It's like the reality is if we live long enough, bad stuff is going to happen. People that we love are going to get sick or ill or injured or die. If we live long enough, we're going to see that happen over and over again. And then eventually it's going to happen to us too. We're going to experience all sorts of big, painful events in our life, and so are our loved ones. And so that's what I kind of mean by reality slaps. Reality slaps you around, turns your world upside down. And values are like I think a resource is a good word to describe them. They're a source of strength within you. You can't alter the past. If somebody you love has just died, you can't change that, but you can stand for something in the face of that loss. So values give you the power to stand up for yourself and stand up for what you care about in the face of all the difficulties and obstacles that you encounter. And again, if we come back to this kind of popular idea about this happy life and feeling good and happy, happy, joy, joy, it's ridiculous to expect you're going to feel happy when somebody you love is dead or dying, or some big catastrophe is showing up in your life. Of course, you're not going to feel happy. But if we look at a kind of living a meaningful life based on our values, then we can still live by our values in the face of these real painful difficulties that we encounter. We can live by our values, and we can engage in life, and we can use the skills I was referring to earlier to kind of let those painful emotions flow through you. And kind of make peace with the emotional pain that's showing up in those moments. And that, again, it gives a much more fulfilling way of living to many people. And, going back, I think about half an hour ago, when you mentioned that people read a book and expect, that's it, I've read the book, it's done. It's like if you read a book about playing guitar, you won't be able to play guitar at the end of reading that book. You have to take the guitar and practice the guitar exercises over and over and over again. And so it's the same with the reality slap. If you read the book, you'll get a lot of good ideas, but you won't develop the skills from reading the book. Every chapter asks you to take skills away and practice them. Some of those are exercises about tapping into your values. Some of them are about translating your values into goals and action plans. And a lot of them are about practicing skills to handle these difficult emotions in a new way.
And the same is with the real reality slap. If it slapped you once, it doesn't mean it's not going to slap you again. Thank you for the meeting. And let's brace ourselves for the reality slaps, because they're going to happen for sure. And I strongly believe we are able to handle it. Thank you so much for the meeting.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.